Copilot Podcasts. A company that made clocks and meat scales in 1911 is now one of the most powerful forces in artificial intelligence and cloud computing on the planet. That's not a glow-up, that's something else entirely. Today, we're tracing the full history of IBM, how it was born from a merger of 4 random companies, how it nearly collapsed, losing over $8 billion in a single year, and how it pulled off one of the most dramatic corporate comebacks in history. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly how IBM kept reinventing itself across more than a century, and what that actually means for how we think about big tech today. I've got someone here who has really dug into this story, so let's get into it. Walk me through where IBM even comes from.
So the origin story is genuinely wild because IBM didn't start as a tech company at all. In 1911, a businessman named Charles Ranlett Flint merged 4 separate companies, Bundy Manufacturing, the International Time Recording Company, the Tabulating Machine Company, and the Computing Scale Company of America, into one entity called the Computing Tabulating Recording Company, or CTR.
Wait, so clocks, scales, and tabulating machines, that's the origin of IBM?
Exactly. These were mechanical devices built for counting, timekeeping, and weighing, things that were absolutely essential to early industrialization. Think factories, payroll, census data. The world needed to count things fast, and CTR built the machines that did it. According to the World History Journal, these services were, quote, indispensable to early industrialization.
So it's less Silicon Valley and more like Industrial Revolution infrastructure.
Completely. And then in 1914, Flint brought in Thomas J. Watson Sr. as general sales manager, and that's when things really started to shift. Watson was a proficient salesman, Wikipedia describes him that way, and his whole philosophy was about building a highly motivated, well-compensated sales force that could solve problems for clients who didn't even know what the latest technology could do for them.
So Watson was basically selling the future before people knew they needed it.
That's a great way to put it. And by 1924, Watson had renamed the company International Business Machines, IBM. The name itself was a statement of global ambition. According to the World History Journal, it reflected the company's global ambitions and technological scope. Watson's vision went beyond selling products. He emphasized customer service and brand loyalty, building IBM's reputation as a trusted partner in business automation.
And IBM diversified pretty early on, right? It wasn't just tabulating machines.
Right, they moved into electric typewriters and other office equipment. IBM Heritage actually describes the company's culture during this era as built on a belief in the potential of people. And that culture, that internal philosophy, is something that kept showing up across the company's entire history. It's kind of the thread that runs through everything.
That's interesting because when most people think of IBM, they think mainframes, like the giant room-sized computers. When does that chapter start?
So in the 1940s and 1950s, IBM started making its first moves into computing. But according to Wikipedia, these were incremental improvements to the existing card-based system. The real turning point came in the 1960s with the introduction of the System 360 family of mainframe computers. That was a pivotal moment.
Pivotal how? Like, what made the System 360 such a big deal? IBM didn't just sell you a computer, they sold you hardware, software, and service agreements all together. That bundle created this incredible lock-in. According to Wikipedia, the customized nature of end-user software, tailored by in-house programmers for a specific brand of computers, deterred brand switching because switching was just too expensive. And that's how IBM earned the nickname Big Blue and became one of the most admired American corporations through the 1970s and 1980s. So they basically invented the idea of making it painful to leave, which, honestly, every tech company still does today.
Ha! Yeah, the ecosystem lock-in playbook is very much an IBM original. And it worked brilliantly for a while. Banks, airlines, government agencies, they all ran on IBM mainframes. These room-sized machines were processing the data that kept the world running.
And then the personal computer comes along and just blows everything up.
That's exactly what happened. And here's the thing, IBM actually saw the PC coming. They even made their own. But the competitive edge was gradually lost to clone manufacturers who offered cheaper alternatives, while chip manufacturers like Intel and software companies like Microsoft ended up reaping the real profits. IBM had essentially handed the keys of the PC revolution to its own suppliers.
That's a brutal irony. You build the thing and someone else gets rich off it.
And the numbers reflects just how bad it got. According to Wikipedia, IBM posted losses surpassing $8 billion in 1993. The company that had seemed unstoppable was suddenly in freefall. Revenue dropped, stock prices fell, and the mainframe-centric corporation was struggling to adapt to Unix open systems and the personal computer revolution.
$8 billion in losses in 1993. That's staggering.
It really is. And the conventional wisdom at the time was that IBM should be broken up, sold off in pieces. But then Lou Gerstner became CEO in 1993, and he made a decision that surprised everyone. He kept the company together.
Why was that surprising? Wasn't keeping it together the obvious move?
Not at all. The prevailing thinking was that IBM was too big, too slow, too fragmented to survive as one entity. Breaking it up and selling the parts seemed like the rational exit. But Gerstner saw something different. According to the Chief Reinvention Officer case study, he pivoted IBM away from competing purely on hardware and toward offering consulting services, helping other businesses solve technology problems. IBM stopped saying, "buy our computer," and started saying, "let us help you run your business better with technology."
That's a completely different value proposition.
Completely. And it required a massive cultural shift. IBM recruited thousands of new consultants and retrained existing employees. By the end of the 1990s, services accounted for over half of IBM's revenue. The turnaround was real.
So Gerstner basically saved IBM by changing what IBM was. Not just what it sold, but what it fundamentally was as a company.
Exactly. And business reinvention expert Dr. Nadia Zeksambayeva makes a really interesting point about this. She says IBM is a great example of how companies reinvent themselves before they have to. IBM didn't wait for total failure to force change. It rebuilt itself, and not just once.
Wait, not just once? How many times are we talking?
According to that same case study, IBM rebuilt itself 3 separate times over 30 years, from computer maker to service provider to cloud and AI specialist. 3 full identity reinventions.
That's kind of remarkable when you think about it. Most companies can barely survive one major pivot.
Right. And the second reinvention started under Samuel Palmisano, who became CEO in 2002. According to CFI.co, Palmisano recognized early that the future of computing would be driven not just by physical machines, but by software, services, and data. He doubled down on IT services, consulting, and outsourcing. IBM was positioning itself as a trusted advisor to businesses navigating increasingly complex technology needs.
And that meant letting go of hardware divisions that had defined the company for decades.
Exactly. And we can see that in a very concrete way. In January 2014, IBM sold its x86 server business to Lenovo for $2.3 billion. According to TimePath, that sale allowed IBM to invest more in cloud computing and data analytics.
You're literally watching a company shed its past to fund its future, selling off the thing you were known for to become something new. That takes a certain kind of institutional courage.
And then in 2012, Ginny Rometty took over as CEO, and she inherited the challenge of accelerating IBM's transformation into the AI and cloud era. According to CFI.co, she placed strategic bets on 2 key pillars: hybrid cloud infrastructure and AI-powered enterprise solutions.
And that's when Watson, the AI, really becomes the face of IBM.
Yes, and the Watson story has this incredible pop culture moment attached to it. On February 16, 2011, IBM's AI program Watson won a special edition of Jeopardy against 2 of the most successful champions in the show's history, Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter. According to TimePath, Watson's victory showcased IBM's advancements in natural language processing and artificial intelligence.
I mean, beating Ken Jennings at Jeopardy is not a small thing. That guy is basically a trivia god.
Ha, right. And it wasn't just a publicity stunt. According to CFI.co, Watson was developed further under Rometty into a commercial AI engine with applications in healthcare, finance, cybersecurity, and beyond. IBM was trying to show that AI wasn't just a party trick, it was a business tool.
And then there's the Red Hat acquisition, which is kind of the biggest move of this whole era.
Huge move. In July 2019, IBM completed its acquisition of Red Hat for approximately $34 billion. According to TimePath, that was the largest software acquisition in history at that time. Red Hat, known for its Red Hat Enterprise Linux platform, became a unit of IBM's hybrid cloud division. The goal was to position IBM as a leader in the hybrid cloud market.
$34 billion. That's a serious bet.
It really is. And it signals something important about IBM's strategy. Rather than trying to dominate the public cloud market outright, competing head to head with Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, IBM focused on hybrid cloud solutions. According to CFI.co, that means enabling enterprises to integrate their existing infrastructure with flexible, scalable cloud environments. It's a different lane, but a smart one.
So IBM isn't trying to be AWS, it's trying to be the bridge between the old world and the new one.
That's a really good way to frame it. And then in November 2020, IBM made another major structural move. It spun off its Managed Infrastructure Services unit into a new public company called Kyndryl. According to TimePath, IBM's CEO Arvind Krishna emphasized that the spin-off would allow IBM to be more agile in adapting to technology changes. Again, shedding weight to move faster.
It's almost like IBM has this recurring pattern: identify what's slowing you down, cut it loose, and double down on what's next.
That's essentially the playbook. And the results are pretty striking. According to the Chief Reinvention Officer case study, IBM's revenue in 2024 sits at $62.7 billion. The company that lost over $8 billion in 1993 is now a $62.7 billion enterprise, and it has over 270,300 employees in more than 170 countries.
Okay, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier. IBM Heritage talks about the company pioneering AI systems, quote, before the technology had fully escaped the realm of science fiction. That's a bold claim. What does that actually mean?
It means IBM was doing serious AI research long before the current wave of generative AI made it a household conversation. Watson winning Jeopardy! In 2011 is the most visible example. But IBM Heritage also points to a persistent commitment to scientific exploration that yielded world-changing discoveries and gave rise to entire industries. IBM has been in the AI game for a very long time.
And IBM Heritage also mentions space exploration, which I did not expect.
Yeah, IBM Heritage says that from the very beginning, IBM has been a driving force behind mankind's exploration of space. Which makes sense when you think about it. NASA needed serious computing power, and IBM was the company that had it. The same machines that ran banks and airlines were also helping put people on the moon.
There's something kind of poetic about that. The company that started by counting things with punch cards ends up helping count down to a moon launch.
And that's actually a good way to think about IBM's whole arc. It's always been about processing information at scale, whether that's census data in 1911, mainframe transactions in 1965, or AI workloads in 2024. The technology changes, but the core mission stays weirdly consistent.
I want to bring up something from the IBM corporate archives story because I think it's a great tangent. IBM's corporate archivist, Jamie Martin, described this moment where curators from the New York Historical Society came to visit the IBM archives for what was supposed to be a 2-hour meeting, and it turned into a full day.
Right, and the exhibit they were building, called Silicon City, Computer History Made in New York, ended up featuring more than 100 representations of IBM history, artifacts, videos, still images. The centerpiece was the iconic 1964 World's Fair IBM Pavilion, which was designed by Ray and Charles Eames.
The Eames, the furniture design legends. IBM had them designing their World's Fair Pavilion.
Which actually connects directly to something IBM Heritage says. That IBM's approach to developing products, spaces, and solutions is guided by the idea that, quote, good design is good business. That wasn't just a slogan. They were literally commissioning world-class designers as part of their corporate identity.
That's a really different way of thinking about a tech company. Most people don't associate IBM with design culture.
And that's part of what makes IBM's history so layered. It's not just a technology story. IBM Heritage frames it as a story about people, innovations, and values. The company championed diversity and inclusion in the workplace, promoted environmental sustainability, and according to a LinkedIn analysis, even aided in the reconstruction of post-war Europe and supported humanitarian relief efforts.
So IBM is simultaneously a computing giant, a design patron, a space exploration partner, and a humanitarian organization. That's a lot of identity to hold at once.
And maybe that's actually the secret to surviving for over a century. You can't be just one thing. IBM Heritage puts it this way. A culture based on belief in the potential of people has guided and sustained IBM through a century of change. That's the through line, not any specific product or technology.
which is kind of a counterintuitive lesson for a tech company. The technology isn't the thing that kept you alive, the culture is.
Exactly. And you can see that play out in the reinvention moments. When Gerstner refused to break up IBM in 1993, he was betting on the culture, on the idea that the people and the institutional knowledge were worth more than any individual product line. And he was right.
Let me push back on something, though. IBM has also had real stumbles. The PC era, the Unix transition, these weren't just market shifts. IBM was slow. It missed things. How do you square that with this narrative of a company that always reinvents itself in time?
That's a fair challenge. And the honest answer is that IBM didn't always reinvent itself in time. According to Wikipedia, IBM grappled with adapting swiftly to the burgeoning Unix open systems and personal computer revolutions. The word swiftly is doing a lot of work there. They adapted, but not fast enough to avoid losing over $8 billion in 1993. The reinvention happened, but it came after real pain.
So it's not that IBM was always ahead of the curve, it's that IBM was always willing to eventually change course, even when it was painful. That's a more accurate framing. And the Harvard Business Publishing case on IBM's digital transformation, published in November 2024, actually digs into this. It describes the cultural and operational challenges faced during IBM's transition from hardware to services. Moving from a product-centric to a service-oriented business model required a fundamental cultural change. That's not easy. That's not painless.
And yet they did it. Multiple times. Multiple times. And as of 2014, IBM held the distinction of possessing the highest number of patents among US-based technology firms, according to Wikipedia.
So even through all the turbulence, the research engine never stopped. IBM was always building something new, even when the business side was struggling. That's actually a really important detail. The patent leadership suggests IBM never stopped investing in the future, even during its darkest financial moments.
Right. And IBM Heritage describes the company's research institution as the world's premier corporate research institution, one that depends entirely on the talent, curiosity, and ambition of its people. That's a strong claim, but the patent record backs it up.
So when you step back from all of this, the punch cards, the mainframes, the near collapse, the Jeopardy win, the $34 billion acquisition, what's the actual takeaway here?
Here's what this really comes down to. IBM's history is a masterclass in the difference between a company and a product. Products become obsolete. Companies, if they're built right, can outlast any single product by decades. IBM has been a tabulating machine company, a typewriter company, a mainframe company, a services company, and now an AI and cloud company. The label keeps changing. The institution keeps going.
And the numbers tell that story pretty clearly. From losing over $8 billion in 1993 to $62.7 billion in revenue in 2024. That's not just survival, that's a complete rewrite.
And what makes it meaningful beyond the balance sheet is that IBM's reinventions weren't just financial maneuvers, they were genuine shifts in what the company believed it was for. Gerstner didn't just cut costs, he changed the story IBM told about itself, from "we make computers" to "we solve your technology problems." That's a different identity, not just a different product.
And that identity shift is something any organization, or honestly any person, can learn from. The question isn't just what do I make, it's what problem do I actually solve?
Exactly. And IBM Heritage frames it beautifully. IBM's founding CEO aspired to make the world a better place, and the company and its employees continue the effort daily. Whether you buy that fully or not, the aspiration has been a consistent anchor through every reinvention. It gives the pivots a sense of purpose beyond just chasing revenue.
So the company that started by counting things with punch cards in 1911 is now counting on quantum computing and AI to carry it into the next century. And if history is any guide, they'll probably find a way to make it work, even if it takes losing a few $1 billion along the way first.
Ha, yeah, apparently a near-death experience is just part of the IBM reinvention process. Lose $8 billion, hire a new CEO, sell off the hardware, buy a $34 billion software company, spin off a division, and emerge stronger. Rinse and repeat.
That's the IBM playbook. And honestly, it's a more interesting story than most tech companies get to tell. Thanks for breaking it all down. This was a genuinely fascinating deep dive. And thanks to everyone listening to Copilot podcasts. IBM started as a company that made clocks. It's now one of the most powerful forces in AI and cloud computing on the planet. The next time someone tells you a company is too old to matter anymore, maybe just ask them, have they heard of Big Blue?